Okay, so we're going to get everybody to fire up their Peacock machines. We're going to Spring Stampede Season 1, Episode 1. And as we're waiting for everyone to get set, the first match featured Johnny B. Bad against your old friend DDP. And then Steve Regal goes to a 15-minute draw with Brian Pillman. And now we're going to watch an all-out brawl. So as you're watching at home with us, it's Spring Stampede Season 1, Episode 1. We're going to go to 36 minutes and 17 seconds. That's where we're going to get our time cue from. All right, so as a reminder, we're on Peacock, Season 1, Episode 1 of Spring Stampede here. And your time code, again, is 36 minutes and 17 seconds. That's 36 minutes, 17 seconds. I'm going to do a bit of a countdown. And then when I say play, you're going to press play. And Mick, this will be the first time you've seen this match in a long time.
That's right. I'm going to put the glasses on so I can better absorb it.
Okay, well, here we go. 3, 2, 1, play. Great shot there of the backdrop.
Nicely done.
The big curtain, and here come the Nasty Boys. Sporting the tag straps. Brian Knobs has his Rambo headband on. Jerry Sags has a kendo stick. Oh, Brian does too. The Sandman's influence is felt even here in '94.
Yeah, I think so. Was he using it in '94?
I think he was.
Or we'll have to look and see when the kendo stick became the Singapore cane.
Yes.
Right after the international incident took place in Singapore. We want this to be educational too, right?
Absolutely.
So going back, there's a young man who stole some gum in Singapore, which is a no-no. He was supposed to take 10 lashes with a cane. Paul Heyman jumped in that immediately and turned the kendo stick into the Singapore cane.
How about 2 signs for Cactus Jack so far?
Nice,
the Nasty
right?
Boys or Cactus Toys. And
now,
then
a friend of mine came over from Japan, Masa,
from BTE, Fat Ass Masa?
No, not Fat Masahori. Jericho even said, if you've been to Japan and you haven't met Masa, you're not shit, right?
There you go.
So Masa had shown up at a WCW taping with a Super Dad, that's me.
Here,
pajama top, that's right. And I'm nursing the missing ear. Again, this is supposed to be my last match before I go out to pasture to have my ear reattached to my head. But anyway, here we go.
Another, look at all these.
Here's to you, Cactus. All right, he's
already broken a Singapore cane over you. All right.
So no pool cue? Why did I think there was a pool cue?
Maybe that was a pool cue. My goodness.
There's a lot of tonnage hitting that ground. Maxx went he was about 6'6", 400 pounds. Great.
He said he was an amateur wrestler.
Yeah, great amateur wrestler. There it is, right? That's a pool cue, right?
That's a pool cue.
Okay, and this is where I realize whether or not I want to be there, if I don't start fighting for my life, these guys are going to kill me. If not kill me, then, just make me look bad because they thrived on the give and take. All right, that's probably the weakest offense we'll see. And he...
Oh, now it's your turn with the pole cue.
Good.
Got some cowboy boots on.
Yeah, I don't know what. I don't even remember owning those cowboy boots.
And these are the trademark Foley sweats.
Love those sweats, man. Street fight. You got to show up in your street fighting gear, right? All right, I think we have a big clothesline coming up. Oh, man. Oh, it looks
bang
nice,
that hip or that thigh.
And I sat on the apron, so I didn't make full contact with my thighs like I usually did.
That is not the way you normally swing a chair, but Brian's,
he got them flat.
Jerry Sags don't care.
Those chairs could be difficult. Those are the ones you have to slide up from the back. All right, nice bump on for Knobs on my behalf.
Oh, I'm taking the camera guy down here, too.
Oh, yeah.
That is not a gimmick pool cue.
No, it's not a gimmick pool cue, and he's not pulling those shots. There'd be welts across my back after that for sure.
Chair shots for everybody.
Yeah, chair shots to the back, nothing special. But still.
It just clobbers you from behind.
A rare shot of the Foley torso. There, again, pushing.
That'd be worth money these days.
300 pounds at that time. Maybe even a little heavier, 310.
I tell you, from the side, Max Payne looks like a heavyset Canyon.
He does, right?
Yeah.
Maxx is a good dude, man.
How is he as a guitar player?
He was good, very good. And he had a band with Road Dogg as their. Oh, there we go. He had a band with Road Dogg as the lead singer. Dr. Squash. Remember I told the Steve Miller story last week? He had a band, I think, that was poised to take off, and it never did.
So, what did you think of the ramp? We just saw the interaction.
I love the ramp. Man, yeah, a lot of guys would do some cool stuff on that ramp, and it was a good way to take even a normal move like a backdrop and really make it meaningful. And it was cool when someone went out there to do something and immediately looked special.
I heard managers, I think maybe Jim Cornette specifically, said he hated the ramp because you couldn't work around all four sides.
Yeah. I guess there were pluses and minuses. And if you're a manager, you can't circle the ring like you might like to. You can't prowl it.
This is the era where blood is a no-no, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if blood wasn't a no-no, we would have had 4 guys bleeding right now.
Yeah. That's cool. The clothesline with the pool cue, I like that. Again, all this stuff is off the cuff. Now, not this because spot. I realize, we are going to have the fake concession stand brawl. But it looks like a place you could conceivably buy merchandise from if you hop over a guardrail.
Shout out to Memphis and Tupelo.
The Tupelo concession stand brawl, it's at the bar high, so we're going with the fake concession stand brawl. But I think the stuff we're doing is good enough and believable enough where people are, okay, I'll believe for a moment that if you want a T-shirt, you could do that at this juncture. Hop over the guardrail and buy it. All right, there's a stiff one to the head, stiff chair shot to the head. And I like the fact that they're using 2 different cameras. Got to pull down that shirt, no matter how much pain you're in.
The 2 camera shots, it's got to be a little disheartening as a performer, though, because you're taking these violent bumps, and they might not be watching.
Right, and so I'm glad that they're doing it. We were reprimanded afterwards by Greg Gagne. For fighting in areas where the fans couldn't see. And I said, Greg, we're on television, though.
Yes.
And he said, yeah, but for the fans in the arena, you're killing the town. I was like, I don't think we're killing the town with this match.
So that looks like an extra gimmick to table, right?
Yeah. Well, you could argue.
See the underpinning.
That any table knobs is placed on is going to give way. Oh, he's stuffing. Is that a Nasty Boy shirt? He's stuffing it. Oh, my goodness.
The only way it could be worse is if it was an Al Snow shirt.
Well done.
Who would have thought, too, that after all this that you guys are putting yourself through, sadly, the first person that we would lose in our wrestling family here is Pee-wee, the referee.
Yeah, Pee-wee from cancer, yeah.
You just assume, boy, these guys here.
Because, man, the Nasties live life large. And Knobs is having a tough time physically now. All right, I guess I'm doing this.
Oh, man. Over the guardrail, onto the concrete. That couldn't have felt good.
It's a simple call. Reverse it, Again, you just have to take my word for it. There's very little, if anything, set up. No, I'm not saying Maxx didn't go over some things. I don't know about that. I just know from my perspective, everything is new because I wasn't part of any conversations.
Oh, he just hit you with the table leg. Not just the table, but the leg.
Yeah.
I was doing like a seesaw thing on you here.
Yeah, it's
pretty solid looking blows there.
Yeah, the edge of the table. Yeah, that's a pretty good looking little spot. Now so he's going to set this up. As I believe the finish is designed to be a pile driver on top of the table. And you will see an impromptu ad lib. I call an audible when the table doesn't cooperate with us.
And what a show this was. I mean, this is the same show we've got Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat again. And, swinging neck breaker on the ramp. At the same time, Knob goes through the other panel. Now we're setting up the table on the ramp here.
Oh, we're going to suplex it. Yeah, this was a Foley original. I don't think anyone ever suplexed the table before I did it. Bam!
Did you come up with that? Just freestyled right there?
I may have done it a time or two before that. I think I had, because I remember doing it to Chris Candido at Peel's Palace in Erlanger, Kentucky. Whoa!
Was that for Smoky Mountain?
Yeah, but Smoky Mountain may have actually come... man.
Oh, here comes the shovel. This is brutal. Oh, I remember this. Oh, man. So we got the big snow shovel here. Maxx stops Brian Knobs from using it. Now he's using it on Knobs.
Now watch this table start shaking. Look at the table shaking, and boom!
Just collapses under the weight.
And so now I've got to call. Look, there's not enough room for me to take this bump of the Nestea Plunge properly. So I end up doing great damage to my shoulder because I've got to rotate in midair. I call the spot, just push me backward. Boom! Here we go, and bam! So I landed on the right-hand side. You have to go flat. Not enough room to go all the way back, but as far as plan Bs go, I think it's pretty good. I feel like I'm done, and now...
Sags jumps on you, Knobs throws a shovel at you.
And now watch me turn my face so that I don't get hit in the nose. There we go. Turn it. Boom.
God dang.
Turn it so I don't get hit in the nose or the teeth. And that one's over. And I believe I'm going to be on an extended absence to reattach my ear.
My goodness. What a performance. And we're not done.
There's photographer Linda Rufa, who was a mainstay and a cool person.
What are you thinking right there?
Man, I'm thinking I'm glad it's over. And my underwear's showing, right? Yeah, it sure is. Sure is. Should have gone with a singlet underneath.
Didn't Pat used to say yellow in the front, brown in the back? Wasn't that the idea? With those tidy whities. So you're just wanting to get this over with. You're ready to scrape me off the mat and send me home.
And it is over. And we realize it's been really good. You know, what is it, about 12 minutes?
What's Nick Patrick saying there in real life?
He's asking if I'm okay.
Yeah.
And he's probably saying, man, I think he's saying, brother, I've never seen anything like that.
Did you feel like you needed a stretcher, or did you feel like you could do it?
No, I felt like I could get up.
For the purposes of a story, would you have rather it been a stretcher?
Well, if the idea was I'm taking 3 months off to get my ear reattached, maybe there should have been a stretcher.
Meltzer called it one of the wildest, sickest, most brutal matches you'll ever see. They traded brutal chair shots. Jack took his usual psychotic bumps in what will apparently be his last match for several months, as he's expected to undergo surgery to reattach his ear. They talked about the whole fake concession stand, but Payne went to pile drive one of the guys through a table, but with about 700 pounds of combined weight, the table broke before he could set up the move.
Payne was actually Sags trying to pile drive me, right?
Yep. Jack finally took the sickest Nestea Plunge bump off the ramp onto the concrete, sounding like a watermelon was being splattered on the concrete. Sags then used the shovel and gave Jack what looked to be a shot to the head, far too brutal for words, and got the pin. After the match, the Nasties knocked out Payne by destroying the table over him. One of the most brutal matches of all time. 4.5 stars.
That's nice, right?
I mean, you haven't seen that match in a while. What did you think watching it back?
I really liked it. Really enjoyed it. I think it's deserving of its legendary status there. Love the idea that not much was talked about, and I really appreciate the idea that I came in not caring and was made to care in a hurry. Seriously, those guys, you know, like they were great. Look, when I did the thing with the chewing tobacco, that was in Marlboro, Maryland, and I remember Harley getting on. I remember him, you know, going to curse twice in a single show. He was like, somebody said, "Man, they're going to need a cleaning crew after this match," and Harley said, "They need somebody to clean up the shit in the ring." because he thought we were doing too much gaga.
Yeah.
And it was too funny. And he had a little talk with me about maintaining a sense of, like pride while we were out there and not just doing silly stuff and throwing tobacco in a guy's eye. So you could have fun with those guys, but when it was time for business, they took it really seriously. And again, if I hadn't have upped my game in a hurry, I would have gotten swallowed up. And it would have been a really tough night for me. And it was a tough night anyway. And that injury really severely bruised my shoulder. And a deep...
The Nestea Plunge?
Yeah, because I didn't land flat. And there'd be one other time I didn't land flat, and that was one other time prior. That was 91 for my All-Japan tour against Jumbo Tsuruta, and I ended up breaking 3 ribs and wearing a flak jacket for months. And even when I got into WCW in 91, I remember at that time, the philosophy or principle of healing a rib injuries, you had to have compression to push those ribs together. And now it's recognized that what you're doing is you open yourself up for pneumonia because you're not allowing your lungs to expand.
Yes.
But I had that compression thing around my ribs for months at a time. I remember riding with Abdullah. I never missed a match, but there were times when I was really hurting. And there was a few months. Again, I didn't miss a match because of the broken ribs, but they didn't heal up for a long... It's hard to heal up when you're working a physical style.
Yeah.
You're not taking time off. So there's 2 injuries with the same, and that's not even including the back of the head and the wounds and the rattling that we talked about internally and shaking up your brain. So very little margin for error in a move that even if you do correctly is going to cause you a world of pain. But that was the first time I'd ever taken a pain pill, was in a day or 2 after that. And I immediately recognized the euphoric property, right? And that was, wow, I'd never felt this way before. How many hours do I have to wait before I can take another one? And I'm glad I had that experience because I was like, all right, I see why people get hooked on this. So I'm going to take this week or whatever it is, and then away you go. And I don't know if I had another pain pill until, I believe when I hurt my back in ECW in August of '94. One of the boys gave me one, and then it was maybe Hell in a Cell.
So looking back at that, the Nestea Plunge is what you remember doing the most damage, but the shovel to the face, scale of 1 to 10, where are we at on that?
Well, I mean, Sags always talks about the fact, and Knobs does too, they lift that thing and I just go, you didn't see me do, I should have done that, right? That's a natural reaction, boom. And I know I'm with guys who aren't going to be holding back on it, right? And so all I ask is, man, you turn your head. Why? Because you don't want your nose.
Hit it flat.
Yeah. And they hit me flat. I personally thought the Nestea Plunge was enough for the fall.
Yeah.
Sags had other ideas.
So that wasn't worked out ahead of time?
No, none of that was, because the only thing we knew was the finish. And again, maybe I'm looking back, at this through rose-colored glasses, but it's my recollection, and I think that's consistent with what I wrote in 1999, that I didn't have anything planned. Maybe Maxx and those guys did, but I was already in my head out of the company and getting surgery.
You would write, Jerry Sags broke a pool cue over my head, and Brian Knobs nearly dented my skull. The Nesteas were sloppy as hell and more than a little dangerous, but they knew how to brawl. About a minute into this thing, I realized I better start fighting or I'm going to get killed out here. About 3 minutes in, I realized we were in the midst of something pretty special. Sags attempted to pile drive me on the table for the finish. The table buckled under our weight, and we crashed to the ramp. As I got up, Sags pushed me, and I fell backwards off the 5-foot ramp onto the cold, hard concrete below. I didn't land flat, however, and I knew my shoulder was injured. But at least I'd earned the right to rest, right? Not quite yet. Sags hopped down off the ramp, and I winced when I saw Knobs throw him a scoop shovel. It was plastic, but I knew this crazy bastard swinging is just going to hurt just the same. He raised the shovel high overhead, almost like an axe, and I remembered what Dominic DeNucci had taught me about protecting our teeth and nose, and I turned my head to the side. Sags proceeded to hit me about as hard as another human being could, but at least I'd be out of WCW.
Yeah. Big relief.
Did you think that was your swan song?
Yeah. I mean, I thought I might come back, but this would give me a chance to get out of what I thought, it was a negative atmosphere. Have that ear reattached, and had it not, there were two factors led to my return. So I never actually left. The two factors were Dave Sullivan was injured, and Kevin needed a new partner for the next month, and also the phone call from Eric Bischoff letting me know that I had encouraged Missy to reach into Ted's deep pockets. So I believe the Sullivan phone call came on the same afternoon. And
you wrote in your book, man, you think I would have learned by now, right? I was awakened 2 days later by the sound of a telephone. It was Kevin Sullivan. 2 days after this.
2 days after. Brother. Yeah, he just encouraged me to give it one more go, have one more match.
Was it where you, why were you so agreeable? Why weren't you a harder sell? You just had a soft spot for Kevin, or you secretly just really wanted it?
I didn't really want it, but I was also on a post-match high, remembering how good this stuff could feel afterwards. That's the thing I miss most about wrestling, is that post-match, that time you spend together, and it's this crazy thing because, the four of us just beating the hell out of each other.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same, when Knobs was injured, obviously there's no post-match high when you're worried about one of the guys. But to spend that time and realize he's just done something really cool, and in my mind too, I'm going to be off for a while. I'm going to be home with my kids, which is the thing I love most of all. So Sullivan, there was a definite yearning for me to do the right thing by Kevin, because he had been so instrumental in my character in 1990. And I knew we worked together well, and I did enjoy working with the Nasties. And there was a feeling that we could do something.
In hindsight, would you have done anything differently with the match, or are you pleased with it?
I was really happy with it. In hindsight, I probably would have been more present mentally beforehand, but they weren't guys who liked to go over spots anyway.
Right.
I don't know how much we had planned the next month. A lot of it's just give and take, and you're fine. They're bringing something out with them, but it's not like we were going under the ring to pull out bizarre objects.
Right.
We're kind of using what's around us. I say that as 3 minutes of the match take place at a fake concession stand. So
and there's a pull cue and a scoop shovel.
Yeah, but these are things you could, whether they brought them out, they had them, but. I thought it was a great job of utilizing what you had around you. I think since that time, we've seen many a brawl that's even wilder.
Well, because that really set, and you and I know it's a tribute really to Tupelo, but a lot of fans would see that happen in ECW, and then when anybody else on TV did it, say, oh, they're ripping off ECW.
Yeah.
But you guys were doing that long before
Yeah,
ECW.
I think so, yeah. And Rotten Ron Starr had taught me how to brawl around buildings in 89. So I'd say we predated, my affinity for brawling around buildings predated ECW.
Sure.
When Joel Goodhart's Tri-State Wrestling was the precursor of ECW.
Of course.
And the wild matches I had with Eddie Gilbert, I think stand the test of time. And Eddie was so instrumental. And again, along with my wife believing in me, I think having that angle with Eddie Gilbert was a real big factor in me believing that I could deliver at the top of the card.
It's interesting to see the choices of the weapons, and you can sort of tell what the guys picked versus what the company did. That table they had set up for Brian Knobs was ready to collapse right away.
The thing is, I love Richie Posner, the Magic Man.
Sure.
But anytime you ask a the gimmick guy, the chances are, not any time, but they're prone to over gimmicking.
Yes.
And
they're trying to be helpful.
They're trying to be helpful. Like when I had the match with Triple H, Hell in a Cell, and I throw the stairs, I'm envisioning the mesh starts to give, like a chunk, like a corner gives way, so that when I hit it with my shoulder, which is where the blood comes from, I really have to run through that thing. And really, I could have just stepped right through it, because that thing went through, the stairs went through the cell like a knife through hot butter, ching, and there was no need for me to do it, but I'd already figured this is, going to get that in, and it did add to the match, right?
Sure.
But I didn't need to dive through that cell structure like I thought I would. But whoever was in charge of gimmicking that table should have realized, look at the size of these guys.
It's going down.
We don't. Yeah, look, the table broke for me and Sags,
Just standing
and
on
that
it.
was not a gimmick table.
Right.
I just remember, and I had the same feeling, I believe, when I pile drove Triple H in '97.
Yep,
for the
MSG,
debut of
yeah.
Cactus Jack, and we did get that. We got that pile driver in. Compare and contrast that to the pile driver on the non-gimmick WWE announced tables, where that thing doesn't give at all unless somebody does something to it. Otherwise, you're being pile driven on the house that the third little pig built out of brick.
I just can't imagine, the disparity between here's this overly gimmicked balsa wood table and then a freaking pool cue.
Right.
Like, is that the only time you've worked with a pool cue? I can't remember that being used in one of your other matches. I know there was a silly barroom brawl that Brother Love was in on WWE pay-per-view in like the mid-2000s, but I can't remember another time besides maybe skits at the Friendly Tap.
The Friendly Tap would have had a pool cue, but it probably would have been gimmicked,
Yeah.
Why? I probably just saw something that Sags or Knobs saw laying around and took it with him. I can't recall using a pool cue as a weapon. There's no give to it,
No.
There's no give
It's
to
crazy.
it. Yeah.
And then there's the shovel. We saw the shovel, and we just recently talked about it not too long ago with Buried Alive in 1996. And then here, but wasn't there one with Vader as well? It feels like...
Yeah, there was, the story of the shovel is I'm going to come out of the stands in Montgomery, Alabama. There was a great angle that took place where Harley Race brought Paul Orndorff into the fold. So it's me, Paul, Harley, and Leon. But Harley wants to find out who the tougher is between me and Orndorff in order to face somebody. And then Paul and I have I watch it, and it's not spot after spot, right? And I'm not talking about the pay-per-view match we did, where we did have some cool stuff lined up, and there were a couple bumps that have made there's a GIF or GIF, whatever it is, whatever the kids are calling it today. It's one that gets a lot of looks. There's a couple bumps in that match that get a lot of looks, but the give and take between me and Orndorff was just really good. It was a good basic match. Everything looked good. And that's where Paul came up to me a few days later. I think we had 2 matches on TV, and he was offered a contract. So here's the guy who headlined WrestleMania, the original WrestleMania, one of the great heels, I'll say, not just of his era, but of all time, just a great heel. And he tells me he's been offered this contract, and he thinks that the matches that he and I had were a big reason, and he thanks me for it, which is, again,
what a compliment.
Goosebump stuff. They turn on me, Orndorff, Leon, Harley, and now I'm going to get my revenge in Montgomery, and I know I have just the one chance to make that impression. Rip Rogers, one of the wisest wrestling sages there is, and he had made me believe you get one good turn I think he thought in your career, I think you get one good turn everywhere you go. And then everything after that is case
Big Show.
Yeah, and you become the Big Show, where Chris Jericho and I can kill 3 hours on a plane talking about his turns, not even finish at the end of a 3-hour flight, and that was 15 years ago. So the man has turned a lot. But as far as that one great babyface turn, you get one. And so I'm going to come out, and we see a steel scoop shovel, whether aluminum alloy, whatever it is. We call everything steel. And I realized I've not worked with a scoop shovel. You know, there was no Danucci class in which he brought us aside.
Day one was Nestea Plunges. Day two,
Plunge, right? Yeah.
I think he never mentioned the knee pads. Darn it!
I should have worn the knee pads. So I'm working with the shovel. I'm like trying to like flick my wrists. How
What's
can
the
I
magic?
do this?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to hit the guy with the butt of the shovel. You want it to be as flat as possible. And Harley sees what's going on, and whether he walks over to me or just says it to me from a seated position, it resounds with me. He says, "If you don't hit him out there when we get back here, I'm hitting you." So suffice to say, when it came time to swing that thing, I swung it with everything I had. So Leon's got his back, and it's always, you know, you're going to get jumped from behind. You know you're going to take a shovel. I don't know if he knows Harley's put the fear of Harley into me and that I'm extra motivated. It's not just the biggest turn of my career, it's the fear of Harley race. So Leon's doing his, I fear no man, I feel no pain, but it comes out as, I fear no man, I feel no power. So I hit him as hard as I could. The steel's, you know, you can hear it, right? And now Paul feeds over, and Paul gets a hand up, as we all should. And here comes that tough son of a bitch, Harley Race, no hand. He feeds up, he takes that shot. Out comes Kevin Nash, who's not Kevin Nash, but working Vinny Vegas or whatever he is at that time. Boom, down he goes. Out Mark Canterbury, boom, Mark would be out with a concussion after that. And now I'm waiting for that 11 to 15 guys, extras, who's supposed to come out and feed me, and they don't arrive. When I get to the back, I'm excited about what we've done, but I asked one of the agents, where were the guys? I said, brother, they took a look at what was going on, and they took off. It took off. So you could argue that these guys are out of the company. You know, they would just come in for a day rate of $100, whatever the going rate was. Not enough to be on the receiving end of those shots. So between me and Harley, Harley inspiring me. I was swinging some steel that day, and it was a great turn.
That's one of my favorite Harley stories. I'd heard it before, but I wanted to make sure we got it in on the show.